on less tar.
In the rough and tough world of off-road racing, the really exotic machines are high-tech, high-power space frame vehicles. Prime example is the motorized BAT Spec 3 campaigned by Evan Hutchinson and Achim Bergen in the APSA National Off-Road Championship. We're here at the Geratech Proving Ground to get a taste for what it's like driving one of these vehicles. The Motorite team campaigns two Chev V8 engined BAT Spec 3 specials in Class A of the Off-Road Championship. Designed and built in South Africa, they link a chromoly space frame to double wishbone front and trailing arm rear suspension, together with adjustable bypass shocks. Wheel travel is an incredible 560 centimeters at the front and 520 centimeters at the rear. We asked Motorite team driver Evan Hutchinson about his involvement in the sport. Evan, why off-road racing?
All my life I've ridden motorbikes and race bikes, and I've moved to quads, and then I moved to off-road racing on quads, and the next step was to go to cars. So I had my eye on these Sandmasters, as we used to call them, the special vehicles.
Rivalry between the specials and the special production buckies is fierce. So why choose a space frame vehicle and not a bucky, for instance?
You can run on a slightly smaller team and on a slightly smaller budget and go and compete with the factory team. So it's given us an opportunity to get some good coverage and go and get some good racing and get a good competitive vehicle, but without having to have the manufacturer's budget. Yeah.
Not that the BAT is a cheap machine. The state-of-the-art racer's V8 pushes out more horsepower than most thoroughbred sports cars, while the gearbox is a 5-speed Albin's sequential unit. Drive is to the rear wheels only, which compromises traction, but the BAT is built to endure extremely tough terrain while racing at high speed. Interior equipment includes a Motec management system, Garmin GPS, and an in-helmet intercom. Currently, Hutchison and navigator Achim Bergman are only 2 points behind the championship leaders Nick and Ryan Harper, with one event to go, underlining just how close the racing really is. It's also a team sport, with the navigator playing a pivotal role. You race with Achim as your navigator. How important is the navigator's role in this form of racing?
The pace at which you race at the moment, you can't make mistakes anymore. You cannot have a flat tire, you can't overshoot corners. There is going to be somebody right behind you overtake. So that navigator is critical. In years gone by, he needed to be a good mechanic, but nowadays, if you have problems, your chances of getting a great result are pretty much gone.
It also means that the mechanical preparation of vehicles like the BAT has to be flawless to ensure the kind of reliability required to finish a 400-kilometer event at racing speeds. The 6.8-litre Chevy engine in the back of this BAT is good for about 460 kilowatt. Given that the vehicle itself weighs only 1,490 kilograms, it means that the power-to-weight ratio here is around 310 kilowatt per ton. No wonder I approached my first taste of a space frame vehicle with more than just a little trepidation. I expected the BAT to be a difficult monster, but nothing could prepare me for how exciting it would be to drive. I've driven a lot of cars in my time, including off-road buckies, but this is something quite different. This must be just about the most extreme thing I've ever driven. You're perched quite high, and there's a lot of suspension travel, so you don't always have that direct contact with the car, but it has an unbelievable amount of power. Just about the most powerful machine, actually, I've ever driven, never mind on dirt. Amazingly, the BAT has to put down all that power through its rear wheels on terrain that would make a battle tank struggle.
I think he's done well in the few little laps we've done, but your first time out in something like this is always going to be a little bit mind-blowing.
And mind-blowing it certainly is. I asked Evan what aspect of driving the BAT is the most satisfying.
I think it's got to be the power, the horsepower that we have. That coupled together with the overall strength of the vehicle is almost like riding a quad. You just got so much power that you can do things that are really exciting. You can jump, to be able to jump a car over certain things and use that unbelievable horsepower must be the ultimate.
If you had to identify an element that you wanted to improve in the car, what would that be?
The car runs a huge amount of travel on all the wheels, and the side effect of that is that we have a lot of body roll and we lose a lot of traction through the corners, through the tight stuff, and that's where the four-wheel drives basically get away from us. So we foster through the rough stuff, and we enjoy that. But yeah, if I could get more power to the ground and get the car just to less body roll, would be an advantage for us.
How much does it cost to campaign a top Class A car in off-road racing for a season?
Initial purchase of a car like this is just over R1 million. Each car cost us just on 500,000 Rand to run for the year, with all your parts and your bits and your pieces, your mechanics, workshops and so on. But unfortunately, that figure can change quite quickly in one event. With my gearbox going and Alfie hitting a tree, suddenly you can spend a little bit more than you had budgeted for. But that's basically a figure that we work on for the year. Yeah.
Next time you're watching coverage of the ABSA National Off-Road Championship on Supersport, spare a thought for these brave crews in their spectacular space frames. These guys eat, live, breathe dust and mud, while their machines take a lot of punishment. A whole lot of power and not much in the way of bodywork to slow it down. The BAT Spec 3 packs a large motor by any car standards with a massive 462 kilowatt. It's an awesome performer, even over its preferred rough terrain, but it shuns anything that isn't essential to its racing ability, and that includes basics like a windscreen.